Hello everyone, today let's solve the problem number 1251, average selling price. So what the question states here, we are given two tables. One is prices table and one is units sold. You can clearly see here, one is prices table and another one is units sold. So what does prices table do here? It contains the price details of products over specific period of time. You can clearly see here. We have the column name, product ID, start date, end date as well as the price. So here product ID is of integer type, start date and end date is of date type, and price is of integer type as well, right? So what is unit sold here? Unit sold, this one table, it contains details of the number of units sold for each product on specific date. You can clearly see here. We have three columns here. One is column, this one, product ID, purchase date as well as units. Product ID is of product ID and units is of integer type, and the purchase date is of date type here. You can clearly see, right? So what we have to do, what is our main goal here? We have to write an SQL query to find the average selling price for each product. For each product, we have to find the average selling price. So what is the requirement here? If product does not have any unit sold, then the average selling price should be 0. This one is very important. Just keep this in mind. So here, if a product does not have any sold units, its average selling price is assumed to be 0. This is very important. Just keep this in mind. The result should be rounded to 2 decimal places. Here you can clearly see they have given here. Write a solution to find the average selling price for each product. Average price should be rounded to 2 decimal places. They have clearly mentioned in the question. So it has to be rounded to 2 decimal places. If we have got a hint that we can make use of the round in MySQL, right? So round keyword to round to 2 decimal places, right? So if a product does not have any units sold, then its average selling price is assumed to be 0. In this case, we can make use of the if null keyword. So these two hints we have got. If you know the SQL correctly, so we can make use of the if null keyword and round, right? So let's see when we write the query that the third requirement here is we have to return the, we can return the result in any order. So order doesn't matter here. We can return the result in any order. That's what they have given here, right? So what is the approach? So I hope what is the question here? What we need to do? I hope what we need to do is completely clear. I hope the question till we discussed, right, that is completely clear as well. So first what we will do, we will discuss the approach first and then followed by writing the query. So first let's discuss the approach and then let's write the query, right? So here the first step here is we have to calculate the total revenue and total units sold for each product, right? So how can we do that? We have to join the prices and units sold tables, right? So we will be joining the prices and units sold tables using the product ID basically. So here this one I'm speaking of, right? So we will be joining the prices and this one units sold table using the product ID, this one. This is very important, and we will check if the purchase date falls within the price period or not. First thing is just keep this in mind. So we have to calculate the total revenue and total units that we know sold for each product. That's what they have asked in the question. By joining the prices and units sold tables using the product ID. This is very important, and check if the product date falls within the valid price period or not. So this is important. So second step here is we will compute the average selling price as average price equals total revenue by total units. This is the formula that we'll be going with. So this is very important. Just keep this in mind. So we have to calculate the average selling price right here. We have already discussed this one here. Falls within the price period or not. The next step here is we have to compute the average selling price as average price equals total revenue by total unit. So just keep this in mind. This is very important, right? So let's come to the third step here. We will use a left join. So we will be making use of left join here. So this is very important. We will be making use of the left join. Why we will be making use of the left join here? To ensure that all the products are included even if there are no sales. So we are including everything here, right? So to include all the products even if there are no sales, right? That is the reason we'll be making use of the left join. Just keep this in mind as well. So let's move on with the fourth step here. If no sales, then average price should be set to 0. This one they have clearly mentioned in the question. We have to assume if there are no sales for a particular product, then the average price should be set to 0. That itself they have given in the question. So in the question, while explaining the question, we have discussed in this case, we have got the hint that we'll be making use of if null, right? If null keyword, if you want to set it to 0, right? So in this case, we'll be making use of the if null keyword. Just keep this in mind. So we will be making use of the round because we have to round off to the 2 decimal places, right? So while explaining the question, we have discussed these two things. We'll be going with the if null keyword to set to 0, and we'll be making use of the round keyword that is provided by the MySQL to format the result to 2 decimal places. So this is very important. So these are the steps we'll be following. So these are the 5 steps that we'll be following, right? So I hope the approach that we went with is completely clear. I hope the approach that we discussed is completely clear. Now let's start writing the. So here the first step is we have to calculate the total revenue and total units that is sold for each product. We have discussed this one, right? Let's start writing the query here with, let me give CTE as. So we are going with the alias, right? I'll just go with as keyword here. So we have to calculate the total revenue and total units with sold, sold for each product. So let's make use of the select keyword. Let's start writing the main part. So here, select. So here u dot product underscore ID. This is fine. So here we are just getting the product ID from the units sold table. That is the reason I have made use of u here, u dot product ID. So after getting the product ID from units sold table, let's go with the total revenue for each product. So in this case, we'll be making use of sum, right? Sum u dot units into this one, price, units into price, right? So for the price, I'll just go with p dot price here in this case, right? P dot price as here total price, right? Just give me a second here. Going with the total, yeah, total price. So I'll just give here total underscore price. This is fine. So the next step here is we have to go with that along with the total revenue for each product. We have to go with the total units that is sold for each product as well, right? So again, I'll just go with the sum here. In this case, only u dot units as here in this case total underscore units. This is fine. So this is coming from unit sold table. So I'll just give here from this one, units sold u. This is fine. So here in this case, let's join. We are joining what we are joining here. We will join. In this case, we have to match product ID in both tables, right? How can we articulate that one in the form of query? So I'll just give here prices p on u dot product underscore ID equals p dot this one, product underscore ID. This is same. So and we have to ensure that date is within the price period. So that's what they have given in the question. We have to ensure date is within the price period or not. So we have to articulate this one in the form of query. So in this case, I'll just give and u dot this one, purchase date here, purchase date between p dot start underscore date and p dot end underscore date. This is fine. So after doing this, we have to group by product to calculate the sum. So we'll be making use of the group by clause here. So I'll just go with group by here based on the product ID, right? So I'll just give here product underscore ID, u dot product underscore ID. This is fine. So next step here is we have completed the step 1, means we are successful in calculating the total revenue and total units that is sold for each product. So if you remember, the step 2 was we have to compute the average, we have to compute or calculate the average price and handle the products with no sales as well. If the product is going, if is not sold at all, for that also we need to calculate. So we need to compute or calculate the average price and handle the products with no sales as well. Sorry. So that one also we need to do. First, what we'll do for that, let's get the product ID from the products table. So let me go with here, select keyword p dot product underscore id, and we will be making use of the round here. Why? Because first thing is we have to round off to the 2 decimal places, and also we need to calculate the average price here. So we will be calculating and let's calculate and round average price here in simple terms, right? So I'll be making use of round here. Let me write in the next line. So this one, let me go with the round of we will be making use of the if null. Why we will be making use of the if null? Because if it is not sold at all, we have to assume that the price is 0, right, at that cost. So we'll be making use of the if null here. So c dot, in this case, total price underscore price by c dot total underscore units here, comma 0, this one, comma 2, as average underscore price. This is fine. We are calculating and rounding off 2 decimal places here. This is fine. So we are setting this one to 0 if it is not sold by making use of the this one if null keyword, and we are setting this one to 0, and we are rounding off to 2 decimal places here. 2, you can clearly see. This is fine. I hope this is clear. The next step here is this is coming from the prices table, right? So I'll just give here from prices p. This is fine. As we had discussed earlier, if you remember in the approach, we will be making use of the left join. Why? Because we have to ensure all the products are included. Even if there are no sales, we have to include all the products, right? We have to ensure all the products are included. If even if no sales, if no sales, then we'll be going with 0. That is different thing. But we have to include each product at any cost. So that is the reason we'll be making use of here left join. We have already discussed this one in the approach. So let's articulate that one in the form of code here. I mean query here. So left join ct c on. So let me give you on product id. So this one has to be, when I take product id, this has to be p dot product id, right? So this will be p dot product id equals c dot product underscore id. So let me go with the group by class here. Why we are going with a group by here? Because we have to group by product to compute the result. We have to calculate the result, right, based on the product id. So here that's what we have done here. But this was based on this one, unit sold table. Here in this case, this will be based on prices table, right? So this one, let's write this one as p dot product underscore id. So same thing. So here let me copy this one here. Let me paste it over here. Instead of u, let me make this one p dot product underscore id. So this is it for the what do you call? This is it for the query. So let me give semicolon here. This is it for the query. Let me run the query. So I hope this works. Let's see. So here you can clearly see the sample test case is getting passed. Let me hit the submit button quickly. I hope this works for all the test cases. Let's see. So yeah, you can clearly see here all the test cases are getting passed here. Means the query works absolutely correct on this case, right? So I hope whatever the query that we have written is completely clear here, right? So this is it for now. Thanks for watching, guys.